All right. As I said, this is the question and answer session for how the traditional session works for league and qualifier and championship. And where you want to do is go to our website. We're working very hard to try and keep that updated with all the information you need to know. I just have a little clip here. You'll be able to get these slides afterwards. You can find out a lot of the information I'm presenting today. I did want to give a little bit more detail to our leagues. So here are all our leagues right now, the same 12 leagues as we've had before. These are the locations for the leagues. I am not, the only league location that changed this year is C2. It's now going to be done at La Cañada High School. So C1 will do the morning, I believe, and C2 will do the afternoon. So the benefit there is great because you don't have to break down and set up. I mean, you only have to do it in the morning, and then C2 will end up doing the breakdown. So it's a little less work for both C1 and C2. So that's new this year. If you're in A2, which was EULA, we've just started with those folks. It's a brand new teacher, doesn't yet know exactly what he's doing. So we're going to help him out. And as I mentioned before, let's see, D, Christopher Moon, he's new, but he is a little aware. He'll need some help. So if you were in League D before, we really need you to step up and help him run that league. Andrew's the same. Oh, Brian M. He's been involved, but in C1, but now he's officially in charge. So that should be pretty seamless. And then I believe everybody else is the same. As I mentioned earlier, I do not have a location for Palmdale, Lancaster, Tehachapi. So really need someone who's in that league to step up and say that they can provide a location. Otherwise, what's going to happen is I'm going to have to blow up League I and assign them to other places so that they can still play. And while we're on that, I should mention that if I have no idea how many teams are going to sign up, if there's going to be too few or too many. So for instance, if A2 becomes only 3 teams, you can't run a league with 3 teams. You need at least 9 to run a league. So if we get small numbers in any of these leagues, when the league starts on November 3rd or 6th, I'm going to have to go back and I'll ask you, but I'll ask you which league would you like to go into, because we can't have a league that only has, let's say, 3 teams. Or if for some reason Palmdale and like I said, Lancaster just can't, we can't get it ironed out, I'll have to blow that league up too. So just kind of be flexible with me, and then because that's what could happen. So I have 2 pages here. You can find this on the website. I did a cut and paste today. I only looked at this, I want to say 3 days ago, so I will update it again. But in green are the teams, and this is only through A1 through D, and I'll show the next page in a minute. These in green are the ones who have paid first, the $300. And since we just opened up the link, I'm sorry, the $275. We've just opened up the link to pay SoCal FTC the $300. So none of these people obviously paid that, but you guys can start doing that now. And if your number is in blue, it's usually like a 10-digit number. That means you've started to register with first, but you haven't finished the payment process of $275. Again, this was 3 days ago, so you might have caught up by now. So this gives you a feel for the size of the league so far. Now, I know we haven't advertised much, so I think people are a little behind, but you've got A1 is looking pretty big. As I mentioned, A2 is pretty small. C2 is usually really big, so I'm assuming those guys will start registering pretty quick. If I go to our next set of leagues, League O is already almost at max, 16. So you can see how these are all kind of ironing out. So if for some crazy reason C1 and C2 stay small like this, I'd end up merging those. That's kind of what we do. If, like we already talked about or if F1 and F2 happen to stay small, which they typically don't because they're out there in Hemet area and we pick up the people from Palm Springs and such. But if they stay small, I'll merge it into one, and then we won't have to. Now, it doesn't matter to you guys unless you have to drive farther than you want, but it shouldn't matter to you because everyone still gets invited to a qualifier, as I mentioned, And this year you get to pick first come, first serve, and then a secondary choice, but you get to pick what qualifier you want to. So if you get put into League O, there's not a League O has to play in Paris on the 6th of February, for instance. You get to pick which ones. All right. This I repeated, but it's this was from earlier. It's in the deck. I can go back and refer to it if we need to. I think those were all repeat slides. So yes, so those are my big slide changes. I'm just going to open it up for questions. Just unmute yourself, ask a question, and like to hear from you.
Regarding League I, if no location is found, what league are they most likely to be merged into?
I'll do it my best based on your where your location is. So I think the closest one to I is probably San Fernando. I guess your choice. Do you want to drive to San Fernando or do you want to drive to Paris? But we really need to get someone to sign up for I. That would help. That's the farthest one away, and it's usually a big league too. It usually has a good 16 people in it, 16 teams. I'm a little worried about that one. But it's early. It's only September. Other questions? So everyone gets the point that your league scores do not follow you to qualifiers this year. So everyone gets that. It's a clean slate when you get to qualifiers. So that's different. Yep, good. Got a thumbs up somewhere. And then everyone gets the fact that we're going to do high score trophy at your league level. So if you're in League B and you have high score, now remember there's 4 events we play. Meet 0 is a no score. So those scores wouldn't be part of your goal to being high score champion. It's the 5 from meet 1, 2, and 3. So it's 15 scores added together, and that would be how we're going to determine who high score is. Now, please go to meet 0. Meet 0 is really important because it's like a dry run. So if you haven't done this before, you might not exactly know how to place your robot on the field. You forgot to turn your power on. So you've got 5 runs to totally screw up and try and figure out how to compete against someone without it counting toward you. So that's pretty cool. So don't forget your meet 0s. And then that also gives our volunteers a chance to practice like the referee. So if they're not exactly sure on a call, if they miscall it in meet 0, doesn't matter because they're practicing too. So practice meets are really important. Other questions? I also should talk about being a volunteer at a league meet. Like I said, these things cannot run without you. We absolutely need you to volunteer one person. So, and it's not that big a deal. And let me find my slide that says what kind of, basically, I left it off on this one. Maybe it's down here. Oh, yeah. If you volunteer to be a hardware inspector, I mean, this is really going to be important this year because last year, especially if teams were new, they might have not been that accurate about how the size of their robot. So you have to be an 18-inch cube and fit inside the sizing box. So if that was kind of loosey-goosey for you last year, this year we're going back to the way it used to be. So following the rules at a group level. So we need a hardware inspector. It's so important. We need 4 referees for every meet. And if you happen to be the referee, it's really nice if you can ref for all 4 of the meets, because then there's some consistency that goes forward. It's not a big commitment. It's only that half day for 4 times. So we will need a scorekeeper. We'll need someone to do check-in. There's probably 8 jobs there. And if there's 16 teams, it's easy to make sure that people volunteer. Other questions? Oh, come on. Nobody has anything to ask? Well, well, it looks like we're dropping off on people coming in and out, but that's fine. You are more than welcome to jump out of this chat room and go into another one if you want to catch the tail end of the first parts of the presentation. Otherwise, like I said, I will stay here and answer anybody's question. If you think you've got a question that doesn't really pertain to anybody else, it's just kind of for you, this is probably a good time because we don't have that many folks.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is the pit is going to be indoor or outdoor?
The goal is to have it indoor. It depends on your host. I know today that League O in Orange County will be outdoors, but that is because of size and not because of COVID. So the goal is to have them indoors. Thanks for asking. Other questions? I'm going to stop recording.